another chapter of the Troll Funeral Home. Many changes have occurred at Troll Funeral Home. Our faithful leader, Richard, for 32 years, has left the buildings. We all swear. And after today, I'm glad. So now we have a fresh, young, new staff. Looking forward to the changes. Young being the operative word. And we're certainly looking forward to the changes. And on behalf of the staff, I can certainly tell you that we are excited and energetic about these changes. Thank you.
Lodge, and I've been fortunate to be with the Lone Group for 10 years. 3 of those years have been with Troll Danforth. The others were with Giffenbach. As Mark mentioned, Lauren Troll was a founder of the Troll Funeral Homes. He came from Bowmanville many years ago when he was 18 years of age. He didn't have much money, and he worked in the automotive industry until he had enough to start his own funeral home. It was a small storefront which was rented in Toronto on 742 Broadview Avenue. This storefront was called the Troll Burial Company. In 1912, Lauren moved into a partnership with William Booth into an ambulance service, a business that lasted a year. In 1912, Troll's charges for a stillborn were $4 and $100 for a traditional service. After 1918, the business grew and the storefront was no longer satisfactory, so Lauren built a funeral home at 172 Danforth Avenue with a preparation room, selection room, office, washroom, and 1 room for a chapel. In 1925, he sold the property to Ralph Day, the funeral home which is still operating today, and moved to 1100 Danforth Avenue, again calling it the Troll Burial Company, which operated for 6 years. It's now the Hargrave Bar and Grill. Douglas, as many of you probably know, was born above the funeral home in 1925. In 1931, he moved to an unfurnished apartment, which is now the funeral home at 1111 Danforth Avenue, which had 3 visiting rooms, funeral service chapel, a 3-bedroom apartment upstairs. In 1931, he re-established the ambulance service known to many doctors and families, which was a great advertising facility for him. Lauren died in 1941. 3 years before his death, he purchased the property at 2704 Yonge Street. The funeral home was constructed in 1938, as Mark had mentioned. About 1952, Doug became the general manager of both locations. In the 50s, the Danforth Chapel needed to grow for the number of families that they were serving, and 2 large visiting rooms were built. The funeral home was renovated to accommodate more selection and office space. A smoking and coffee room were added, garages, and the chapel to seat 100 people. With the new look, 1960 was a peak year, doing about 800 services. 1962, the Danforth parking lot was enlarged to from 24 to 70 spaces. They had to take down two residences to do that. In these days, the Danforth was mostly Anglo-Saxon, but today we are serving Italians, Greeks, hopefully soon Muslims, and many other communities. Mr. Troll said marketing is important. Without it, we will get behind. So very true today. That's why we're here. Back then, the funeral home was advertised extensively via the ambulance business he had. But Trulls had a Sunday hour radio program with religious music, etc., which ran for 21 years. In 1969, Mr. Trull split his time between funeral directing and being a chiropractor. Harry Rath became the general manager of the two locations, and in 1987, the funeral homes were purchased by the Lowen Group, and here we are. There have been many changes over the last few years, from family to corporate. The market, due to demographics and competition. However, some things have not changed. Our staff, who have been at that location for many years, providing the very best service to our community and our families. And I am confident with the service we provide, the commitment of our staff, and the marketing program, the Lowen's commitment to seamless service, our market will increase. Thank you.
Talk about change. The gentleman that's going to do the presentation for GIFAMAC Danforth wasn't even the person who received it 2 weeks ago. And he wasn't aware until tonight when he walked in that there was going to be a presentation by the location managers and directing supervisors. So it's my privilege to introduce our newest directing supervisor and responsible for location, Jeff Smith.
Thank you, Richard. I'm going to make this short. Unfortunately, those people that know me, my name is Jeffrey Smith. As Richard said, I was only aware of this presentation at about 4:30 this afternoon. Thank you, Mark. But barring that, I don't intend to hold anyone responsible for it.
He's looking at you though.
I should have checked my email.
Sorry, Jeff, we're a team. It's all our fault.
In regards to the history of GIFAMAC, I am going to defer that to Richard. I think he's been around longer than I have. I've only been on board as a leader or supervisor director for only 1 week. I started with GIFAMAC about 4 years ago. I did my apprenticeship with GIFAMAC, and I continued on as a funeral director. And with the help of many directors and managers, I was given the opportunity to move forward with GIFAMAC. I think history is something that we should rely on, but to me, it is the past. As Ron Collins referred to, moving forward, I think I bring those values to serve many groups. I talked to several managers of our corporation, including Ray McDonald. And there was one thing when we spoke, Greg said to me, "What are you going to bring to our corporation?" I said, I have many values, many things that I can do for the company. But there was one thing I mentioned to him that I didn't want to pigeonhole. Pigeonhole meaning that I didn't want to be placed in a particular area. I'm here to serve everyone. On that note, I have a great group of employees with me. Most of them are new. I think they bring a lot of value to our company. A company that has struggled, a company that has going into chapter 11. But now I was going to say that we have lost our market, especially in the GIFAMAC area. but I'm going to refer to it as being misplaced, meaning that we can recapture that market. And with the group of people that I have working with me, I hope that respect, I intend to respect everyone, and in return, I want the same. In order for us to move forward, Ron Collins talked about teamwork, not I, and that's not my position. We have to work as a team in order to recapture our market. I intend to retain what we have and enhance what we have, and take our funeral home, regain our calls, and take it to a different level. Whether I'm looking down a dream point, a dream tunnel, we'll only find out in the time to come. Once again, thank you. Richard, I'm not going to hold it against you.
After all, I'm the new tenant. Right now I'm going to present my PowerPoint. It's hard to believe the person that sends you those continuous emails with an attachment and forgets to attach the attachment can do a PowerPoint. It's going to be very brief, and then we're going to open the floor up to questions. Under my document. Under GTA rollout, I think. Just scroll down, Greg. G. No? Oh, maybe, no, keep going. Keep going.
What's under my pictures?
Roll out presentation. I know, I got to organize that. I wasn't sweat. Do you want to put it on slide so it shows the whole thing? Our market, one team, one future. Our mission to create value for families, employees, and shareholders by becoming the superior provider of seamless funeral service. Your support team, Ron Collins, Geographical Vice President, Greg McDonald, Regional General Manager, Heather Patterson, Director of Sales and Marketing, Leanne Serson, Manager of Human Resources Operations, Trish Scott, Regional Controller, Mary Clayton, Administrative Assistant, Richard Clayton, MGM, Eric Duffett, MSM. Our vision: using imagination leadership to exceed our customers' expectations. Our challenges: over the past number of months, as you've been working the locations to serve our families, many people have been working behind the scenes to build a firm foundation for our company's growth and prosperity. Your support team, with their assistance, has built a business plan that ensures our continued success and growth. Your challenge is to put the plan into action and ensure it works. Opportunities, these are endless for our team within the market. Our 3-year goals for our market: provide seamless service to our families, increase market share by 10%, increase revenue with new initiatives to grow pre-need to at-need revenue. Oh, geez, you know, spell check it. Revenue ratios between 50 and 6% on an average. Expand into your niche markets. Increase effectively. Increase efficiency through synergy. Our values are integrity, teamwork, communication, compassion, and creativity. I want to let you know that I know this market is going to work. Today I'm in a location and I hear them say, we could have used the urn art on Saturday, but it's already being used. Maybe it's time we got another urn art. Another location talking about, well, same location actually, gee, you know, any chances of getting another reposium, because we're using ours quite a bit. And through the market plan, maybe we can get another urn art to serve our families. 2 years ago, there wasn't one in a location. Today, we're using it quite a bit. The reposiums, there are 2 or 3 in the market. We may have to get more, but this really excites me. I know things are changing, families' values are changing, but the fact that we're willing to serve them, provide what they want, makes this an exciting time for us in our market. I'm going to, are there any questions of Ron or Greg or Heather or Leanne? You've got to be kidding. There's no questions. Trish is going to talk about AR. Oh, there is a question. Guy, do you have a question?
I do.
Of Ron?
Of anybody.
Oh, Ron. Oh, you asked the question, and if no one answers, it was a stupid question.
The question is for months we've been hearing about seamless service. What is seamless service?
Good question.
And here's Ron.
Seamless service, it came up last night in Halifax as well, and you have been hearing a lot about seamless service. Oddly enough, seamless service isn't a whole lot different from what we have been doing in the past in funeral service here in Ontario, in the GTA. The concept of seamless service, and I don't want to demean it by calling it one-stop shopping, but that's essentially what it is, Guy, everybody else, that's what it really boils down to. And when you take a look at a family, studies have shown that the family, when they walk through the door of a funeral home or call a funeral home, they don't really care that there's a cemetery, which is a different organization, or that the funeral home's a different organization, or that the aftercare program might be driven by a different organization. They've got a problem to deal with, obviously, at that point in time. They have a crisis in their life, and they're looking for support. Our goal is to develop programs that help them and guide them through that process in a seamless way. And you'll immediately say, well, we only have funeral homes in the GTA. We don't have cemeteries, so we don't have the opportunity to provide them with that one-stop shopping. When you start to think about it, we really do. And you have to start to think about it very creatively when you do. Seamless service is the perception to the family. It doesn't matter to them who owns a cemetery or who owns the funeral home or who owns a flower shop. It's a perception, and it's the ability to solve all of the problems of the family through our services to gain greater loyalty and to provide them with a more seamless process, even administratively, than they have been provided with in the past. I mean, it's really it's a very, very simple concept. If someone walks in and they want catering, we've got catering. If someone, needs cemetery space, we'll take them to the cemetery. Or here's a good idea. Why don't we buy some cemetery spaces and have them available? Someone came up to me in Halifax last night and said, well, we can't provide seamless service because we don't own any cemeteries. Arbor owns all the cemeteries here. So how can we provide seamless service? Well, I said, well, what's Arbor's policy in terms of families who want to dispose of cemetery property they found for whatever reason, they're moving, they don't need it, they've decided on cremation. What's the policy of Arbor? Well, I mean, they'll buy it back, but they'll buy it back at X number of price, blah, 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 blah. In Regina, Saskatchewan, our market general manager, Ron Ripplinger, who's a real firecracker, he put an ad in the paper And he said to the families of Regina, if you have surplus cemetery property that you don't want or don't need anymore, come to us and we'll buy it. And he puts it into a little bank, and all of a sudden, he can provide cemetery property to people. Now there's a concept, and the interesting thing about the concept is we didn't go out and buy 80 acres of land in metropolitan Regina to do it, to provide that service. And so that's what seamless service is, but what happens when you start to think about seamless service is you have to start to think of how you provide it. You know, what's the difference between buying, there's a big dollar difference, but what's the difference between buying 60 acres of traditional cemetery and wait to sell it over years and years and years, or going out and being creative and developing cemeteries that are alternative in nature? You know, what's the cremation rate in Ontario and the GTA right now, and what's it doing? You know, the cremation rate's high and it's going up. Although I think thankfully we've been fortunate here with the traditional sales mix. But the point is, look at what the consumer wants and then determine how to give it to them. And you have to think about doing it in a different way. And the way you do it and the way you compete, I mean, I've heard all the stories since I got back home about being beaten up by Arbor, and they're, you know, giving out pamphlets when we leave the cemetery. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because Arbor went out and did something that we didn't agree with as an organization and have positioned themselves. But that doesn't mean we just lie down and die. What we do is we go out and create alternatives for the alternative niche markets, and we do it with a lower cost structure. You've heard of Canada 3000? Heard of Air Canada? I just flew round trip to Halifax and back on Canada 3000 for less than a third what it would have cost me to fly in Air Canada, because they've adjusted their cost structure. And once you adjust your cost structure through creativity, through creating lower cost structures, you can compete like crazy. You honestly can. So you've got to look at alternatives and how you go about that. But seamless service essentially is, I don't want to call it one-stop shopping, but it's providing for all of the needs of the family in the family's eyes and minds. The perception of the family is they have been served totally by our funeral home. That's as simple as that. Now, we'll give you a turnkey solution that'll make it real complicated, but that'll take us a while. But that's essentially what it is, right? Okay.
One more question?
Another one?
Yeah. During the restructuring, and rightfully so, most of the information has come from the top in telling us just what's happened. Once the restructuring is completed, and according to some of this thing here, we will actually have a little more input from the location moving upwards. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole idea is to, I mean, the difficulty you have is we're running businesses and we need to serve our families. The definition of a camel is a horse that was designed by a committee, so you have to be somewhat careful. I mean, it's a real world. But at the same time, and I don't even want to use the term bottoms-up management, because we used to talk about that all the time, and really it was how far the cheeks of your rear end was up in the air before you got it kicked and you put another price increase in. So, but it's very important, and we talked about this last night in Halifax as well, it's very important that we have ownership in the field for anything we do. I mean, I can come out here to Whitby and I can give a little, not too fancy a presentation, but I can whip up a little PowerPoint presentation and I can tell you this and I can tell you that, and you've probably heard a lot of it before. And then I can go away. But if you're not convinced, and if the corporation doesn't stand in the future weeks and months to their word of what we're saying, that we are a new organization, and if there's not involvement in the field, and if there's not ownership in the field to the new ideas, then those new ideas will never work, or they have a very, very, the probability of them working properly and to the full potential is minimal. And we've learned this over the year through all of our events that we would have, our, our celebration of life, our Batesville exclusive casket program, and all these things, that if we're not listening to the field and then converting what we're hearing back into a process and executing that process in the field, and we don't have ownership in the field, then we're not going to be successful. So we need the input. It's difficult sometimes, and Guy, you're right, because over the last 2.5 years, we have been so focused on emergence from CCAA that it's been difficult to get out as much as we'd like to get out. I don't know what we're going to do with all the time we have on our hands when we actually emerge January 1st, to be quite truthful about it, but I'm sure we'll find something to do. The other point you made is a good one, and that is that the information that comes out of any corporation that's in protection has to be very, very carefully crafted, because there are a lot of, we're dealing with creditors committees, and we're dealing with $2 billion in debt, we're dealing with a lot of legalese, and we can't, for example, stand here and say, sell your stock, buy some stock, things are going to be wonderful. Those are things that, because we're under protection, you have to be very, very careful, and that's why the press releases and the quarterly results, all of that information is very, very carefully crafted by our legal department, because we're in protection. Okay?
Ron, how close are we to having, for example, a monument company or something that the Lowens have put together that all of us can use and depend on?
We've got challenges around monuments, quite frankly, but Heather's working with our purchasing people to put a program together. I've come to the conclusion that you'll never have a monument program that's going to work on a corporate or a national basis or a North America basis, just because of the nature of the beast. And so what we're doing is developing preferred providers with decent packages, so we know that corporately we're all earning what we should earn as a result of that. Monuments it's a tricky business because they're heavy little brutes. Somebody has to take them out of the trunk of your car and put them up somewhere. So we've had challenges even where we have cemeteries, and because of the nature of the product. So Heather's working on it with purchasing, and we hope actually, as part of the budget process, to have a program in place.
We've worked with monument companies, but there's been the odd time that they don't come through for the family, and we assume that it's done, and then after the family's voting, and it just puts a bad taste in our mouths.
Yeah, we want to write the monument business. Even though, it's not high margin for us to write monument business, and it's tricky, but that's right, it's all a contribution to overhead, and it's all part of seamless service. Yeah, absolutely.
Is that challenge of the delivery to the family that we have to make sure we got right?
Yeah, we want to make sure we have it right before we move forward with it, because it is a little tricky. Guy? Oh, no, I'm sorry, we're going to defer to the front. You almost,
Well, we talked about markets. Are you looking at different markets to pull business from, or you want to stay in one particular market?
We'll look anywhere where we can create new business. We're looking in some of our markets in Canada where we have markets on the fringe that we want to enter into.
Okay.
And one of the things that we want to do is enter into that business at the lowest cost possible, so we can compete in that market. So absolutely, we want to look to new markets. We can think creatively, and we can deal with seamless service, and at the end of the day, we have to create fresh revenue as an organization. What we do very, very well, and we've done it well for years. But we need to look to new opportunities, and we need to sort of throw the shutters open here and let the daylight come in. And see where we have those opportunities to create that revenue.
I'm not trying to pry too much, but are you going to position people or just a company yourself?
Help me with, I just don't understand the question.
Well, when you look at markets, you have to you sell a building up.
Mhm.
It all depends on the market that you're going to go after. Right? Are you going to position people in that market, or are you just going to look at the market and say, I hope the business will come?
No, we'll position people in the market, and we'll position facilities in the market, and we'll position alternative facilities in the market. And one thing, all of our markets have a really strong base of service behind them. So here's an example of what we've done. We've done this in Fredericksburg, Virginia. We have a sensible alternative store. It's a retail outlet that is in a strip mall in actually Spotsylvania, which is just outside of Fredericksburg. We have 3 large funeral chapels in that market, and we place that into the market, and what's happened has been very interesting because it's an alternative service. But you can walk in and you can buy an urn for your dog, you can buy a full casket, you can buy a Batesville fountain, you can buy a greeting card, you can buy flowers. And what it's done is it's allowed us to enter into different markets in the Fredericksburg, greater Fredericksburg market area, because we've thrown the shutters open and people can come in without the commitment that they feel coming into a traditional funeral home. So here we have 1,500 square feet of retail space, but backing up that 1,500 square feet of retail space, we have 3 full-service funeral homes and a retort. And so now all of a sudden, people come in, and people don't understand that when I travel, people, sort of on a plane and someone says, what do you do? And you tell them, and that either creates an absolute silence, they don't bother you for the rest of the flight, or they're asking you all kinds of questions. And when they start to ask you questions, you realize that the general public doesn't understand that there's a whole lot of fruitful and meaningful middle ground between an immediate cremation and a full-service traditional. And they just don't understand it, because a lot of people have never had to deal with it. And the first time they deal with it, they say, I want cremation, they go immediate. By opening up a retail complex, we opened it in April. We've only served 16 families out of there. But we've spun business off to our other funeral homes, because all of a sudden, by being able to walk in, browse, have a brief conversation, talk about funeral service generally, they realize that there are those options. And for people to walk into a traditional funeral home, if I was at Sporting Life and cross that crazy intersection and come over to Trolls and looked at the door, would I necessarily want to walk in there? Oh yeah, just gonna walk in here, kick the tires. Oh, the church pews shine. Oh, they look pretty shiny today. People don't walk into funeral homes. And what we have to do is we have to create an environment where they will walk in without being intimidated, be educated, and as a result of that, we serve them in the future, whatever their needs are, whatever their wants are. And so that's just an example of how we start to move into other markets. We also move into markets where we aren't, where we're within 20 minutes of a market, and we can provide services into the market. And we do that with sales initiatives, and we do that with alternative initiatives. And then as the business grows, and I think Bob and Guy in Oshawa, we started that project the same way. I run into the traditional funeral directors, and they all want to build some great, huge new monument. I got some guys down in South Carolina that are driving me crazy right now. They want to build this $2.5 million funeral home. What we have to do is we have to approach those opportunities, and it is an opportunity, but they have to be rational. You have to go and you have to say, okay, what are you going to do? What's your volume expectation in the first year? This is a combo. Well, we think we can do 175 calls. Well, that's great. We're going to build the 200 calls. We're going to build that facility in an intelligent way that as you grow your market and grow your volume, will expand the facility. Oh, geez, can't do that. They want 20,000 feet right off the bat. You have to work gradually and think smarter as we move forward in funeral service. And there's a lot of opportunity. In fact, it's overwhelming.
I see that you're on the area, and a perfect example is multicultural.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's something that has to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke with Greg. How there's a huge complicated
Yeah, absolutely.
over 500,000, approximately 5,000 every year. Where are these people going? That's something that has to be addressed. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. Absolutely. Yes.
From a sales perspective, have we decided as companies on the alternate carrier for the insurance?
For forethoughts and withdrawal,
Yes.
we have 3 alternatives that we're looking at right now. Heather has a short list of 3. We're working with our Treasury Department to do some analysis, some modeling in terms of which of those 3 would be the most beneficial, and we'll have a product in place for the departure of forethought. So we're probably at this point in time standing on the third base bag in terms of deciding that.
Meaning that would be working on the
It has to be.
Yes. That's kind of my concern.
Defined shortly, how about midnight on the 5th of December, shortly. Guy?
That was part of my question, but the continuation of that, most beneficial to who? The base build product that we presently have, Forethought, is not been the best product for necessarily the consumer, the funeral people writing it. It's been probably the best product for the lowest. So are we taking everybody into consideration with the new products?
We're taking, of the three, there's a very broad spectrum within the three that we're looking at. And we're looking, what's happened with Sales Guide is that, you know, we talked about this 85 million and the minds of our senior management on sales is that when we came in and they identified the $85 million in cash that we lost, they just put the screws down on everything. And they brought everything into, I don't want to get technical with it, net present value calculations, but most of you have probably heard about them by now. But everything had to be net present value positive for the company. And what's happening now, we have a meeting coming up with the directors of sales and the executive committee and the other GVPs here in Toronto, November the 5th, and we're going to be discussing that. But what's happening now with the company is that, like, when the hemorrhaging is so bad, you have to stop the hemorrhaging. We've stopped it, we've got the pendulum up here in terms of sales guidelines, and now we're prepared as a company to bring it back down, because we're recognizing that not only do we have to be, to the extent possible, NPV positive, so it's not costing us cash, but in certain cases, in certain markets, we have to provide product, which is the terms, the whole package to the family, that is marketable. I mean, we have to have something that the family is interested in, and that we can move forward and sell for our future, because that's our future business. So it'll be a combination. It's not going to be as simple as NPV positive, or what's the most NPV positive, what gives the company the most cash right now. It's going to be a combination of that, because we recognize sales as a partner into the future. So we're going to have products that are competitive.
Because the payout amounts presently that we're getting from Forethought appear to be less and don't quite reach the line that we've always had from trust or from family side.
Yeah, and we're looking at three very different products, so we know, you know, where we are, so we've got the best product for our families and for the company.
And I just, because that's a balancing act between what kind of growth we accept at the end of the contractual period, as opposed to the dollars that we create going to run the program. It's a balancing act. So that, you understand what I mean? You're talking about 2% growth rate.
Yeah, I'm just talking about at the end of the day when we get paid from Forethought now. It's not hitting the line, it's not covering our increases over the years.
Yeah.
As family side. With family side, we're returning a little bit of money to the family. With trust, we're returning a lot of money to the family.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, it's that balancing act. But,
And that's what Heather and Treasury are looking at, to get the best product in place. Yeah. Any other questions? Merchants, anyone interested in where we are with the merchants, what the process is going forward? Everyone's just quite comfortable with that? Guy? Only got $5 Canadian with me.
At one time, the Lowen Group gave its employees shares.
Yes.
Will the new company try to involve its employees in share program or in?
With a 5 sharing the vision
Well,
trip?
yeah.
Lord, I hope not. Because I recall I had to go all over Ontario delivering those things and getting pictures taken and whatnot. I have heard, and there's nothing official, that there will be a share purchase program. And this is not a guarantee, I mean, I just heard this. And so there are going to be some opportunities as we move forward as a company. What happens when we come out of emergence is that the shares that are out there now, that a lot of us in this room had, and still have. I sold all but one because it's nice to have one because they still have to send me the annual report, so you get to see what's happening. Those shares are essentially gone. With the new company, with Alderwoods Group, January 1st, as we emerge, there is new stock that's issued to the creditors, and they go into the open market. And I'm told what will happen is, as they go into the open market, there's a lot of secured creditors that simply don't want to hold the stock. I mean, they've been holding the debt for 2.5 years, and so what will happen is the stock will be issued, there'll be an influx of selling on the market. The stock starting at 17, I think, I can never remember if it was 14 or 17. 17, that's great. You know, it's over the first 30 days, 45 days, it'll slide. Well, the market equalizes to the supply and demand, and then it'll move forward on NASDAQ as a normal stock again. So, yeah. Yes?
Throughout the evening, we've heard of vision and mission and generalities. When will we hear and how will we hear the specifics of the changes that are happening?
Specifics of the market plan itself. I believe that Richard's intention is to get around to the locations and meet with each staff individually to discuss in detail the market plan. You know, I think we've heard a lot about vision and mission and values, because you're going to hear more about it as part of emergence, because that's important to any corporation. So you have that element, which is are really the standards that we hold ourselves up to, and then you have the specific market plan that Richard's going to share with you on an individual basis. Anything else? Once, twice, 3 times. Since I'm standing here with the microphone, I want to say sincerely thank you to everyone in this room. I also want to say that it's great to see so many young faces in the crowd. We have a real challenge. We have a responsibility for Northeast USA as well, which runs all the way down the eastern seaboard to and including South Carolina. And we have a real difficult challenge in the U.S. attracting young people to funeral service. And it's a great profession, and you should be proud to be in the profession and giving the care that you do. And it's just really encouraging for me to come back here and see so many young people in the room that have enough commitment and dedication and interest in what's happening, not only to this company, but within the industry, to take the time out after a long day at work to share this with us tonight. So I want to thank the old timers for hanging in, and the newcomers for coming out. And I appreciate it very much, and we'll talk to you all again real soon. Thank you.
Speaking of old timers.
Yes, we do.